Can I get a hell yeah for BTC? How epic. We are almost at the regions that I've been looking at for months and months and months and months. So this is a super exciting time where new all-time high, like on a daily basis. What does this mean for BTC? What does this mean for crypto, alts, everything in general, ETH that's stuck, and everything? So we're going to break this all down today for you guys. So I'm super excited to have you all here. I've got Sadie, I've got Liz, I've got Anash in the chat. So jump in the chat if you want to get some alts. I'm be looking at some. I've got some alts prepared because I asked on X yesterday. So let's get in. Hopefully you can all hear me and this is okay. So I'd hate to get sort of 10 minutes and you guys can't hear me. I'm just like talking. But let's get this going, and I will be moving back and forwards between this screen and another screen because I'm just on my laptop today, so I don't have my big computer. So let's have a look at what this is doing. And before we jump into that, don't forget Femex. This is here on the banner below. So Femex free signals. Go to gettingstartedincrypto.com. Click on the Femex free signals link. Follow the instructions, and this will get you free signals with this referral code. So if you're short on cash but you want signals and quality signals, head there, and all you have to do is deposit $1,000 to Femex and the signals unlock. So, and they will be coming through Getting Started Crypto. So let's get this started. And I'm just going to jump straight into the BTC chart. So if we've got any questions as you go along, obviously jump into the chat. And if you're in Getting Started in Crypto, that's super easy. Go on to the weekly wrap-up page and you will find us there. Or if you're on X, you can put a comment underneath, or on YouTube, the same thing. So this is looking super, super exciting. So if we break this all down and we have a look what's been going on, that was our correction. It's super messy. Now, there's a couple of different patterns here, which it could be a few different things. So if we zoom right out, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, there's a couple of different patterns I've seen where people have said this is the 3, this was the 4, and we're going into the 5. So, and perhaps this is the 5. So if this is the case, then we're having probably a larger dip. So that's unknown. We don't know how far that's going down. So we take that one step at a time as we pull back, because it's, you know, if it's going into a third wave though, this dip will be super quick because we're going into the more explosive part of the market. As we can see that we've got these movements that are sort of happening at the moment. So forgetting that pattern and going back to where we are here with these 5 waves. So if this is wave 1 of wave 3, so wave 3 in Elliott wave is the fastest, the swiftest, and usually the longest. It's not always the longest, but it can't be the shortest. So there's a rule of alternation there. With that being said, this wave would need to break that 128 and head to 131 for this to be that explosive wave. Or it could be a truncated first wave going into a second wave, and then we kind of know where we're at with that pattern. So now if this wave here is not a 1, 2, 3, and we've got a 1 here, a 2 here, and we're now in the 3, I'm just going to start again. That's so messy. So if we had an extended wave 1, a shallow wave 2, and we're now going into our wave 3, come back, retest. So basically we'd hit 137 and then a continuation up to possibly that golden zone. We could even go higher on that 3. So 3 predominantly will go to the 0.5 or the 618. So that could be something that we're seeing. And then we could be going right up here. So third wave is the longest and the strongest. So that needs to be quite a long wave. And at the moment, if it's all the way down here, it's not a long wave. It's probably an ending wave, but it doesn't look like that at the moment because the momentum is starting to really increase and we're really sort of changing the dynamics of the market. So if we go jumping in to where we are on the BLX chart, so this is a chart that I've been telling you, we've got this gap here. I had a circle here in this range. And, you know, we've got that gap, we've got that inverse head and shoulders, which has confirmed. So if we're looking at this inverse head and shoulders and we're pulling down traditional way of, you know, rebuilding that and getting a wave projection for this oh, that's not what I wanted. Wait 2 seconds, I'm just going to move that off. Where's my head and shoulders? There. So if we go to our inverse head and shoulders, here we've confirmed. And we want to get this measurement here. So we go from the tip of the head to the top of the shoulders, obvious inverse, and then that's our projection. So that is in line with that 158. So we go back to this chart, we have a look where 158 is, 157, we've got a fib around this level here. So potentially that's our next stop. There's where our confluence is showing on this chart and where this pattern is projecting to. So what I believe is going to happen, there's going to be a ton of shorts in this region. Now they're going to take probably a day to a week to clear, and they're going to be clearing and clearing and clearing. And there's going to be a lot of sort of, you know, a spike in sort of BTC volume, that sort of stuff in dominance as these sort of clear and clear and clear. And then we're going to get trapped into this area for a little bit. So this is a resistance from the bottom of the FTX crash right through to where we are now. And this resistance is from all the way back from December 17. So from that previous, our first really big all-time high of $20,000. So that being said, so this next step is likely to be at 134 once we pass this region. There's a high probability as well, on the other hand, if we're looking at the bearish potentials, that there could be a strong rejection. I'm seeing a lot of black swan sort of stuff happening and conversation on Twitter. Now, that's a scare tactic. So ignore that. Look at the pattern. Keep moving your stop loss if you're long on this into profit and protect your capital, protect your profits. Ignore the noise, because the noise is just going to, you know, make you sell lower, make you get out of this trade as BTC takes off, or, you know, make you take sort of profits in a region that you may not want to be taking profits in. So for me, what I'm doing is I've moved my stop loss up on my BTC long term. That's just to protect my profits, my capital. I can always buy back in. And we are seeing strong momentum in this region. So I do think we're going to get that washing effect at this point, which is basically clearing those bear tiers. So it'll just be like clearing, clearing, clearing. and then we'll break through. So once we get to that point, sort of where clearing here, we get up to this point, we're going to bounce for a little bit here, and then we're going to continue up. So this is kind of what we're seeing in this region. Now we've got FOMC potential interest rate cut. So if there's no cut, that's where our pullback occurs. And whether that's large or small is yet to be seen. So let's just take some of this stuff off, and I will put some fibs on there. Nothing wants to come off today. Okay, so let's throw some fibs on here. And let's consider this, just our last wave here is we've got a full wave. I actually don't think we have. I think we're just sort of just beginning. So we get up to this region. Up here, we had a rejection. Like the 236 is sitting at about 112. 0.5 is a sort of, it could come back to the bottom of this like wave on the swing low here. That's sitting at about 100K. So that's our potentials. So if you've got a long-term BTC trade, like mine has been in the market since the bottom of that FTX crash, and just buying on these dips, and it's looking really good. It's looking really, really good and really profitable at the moment. So even if we get a small dip here, I'm not too concerned. The thing to watch is, these are the three patterns. I've posted this on X as well, and inside Getting Started in Crypto. Now, this is our major resistance, and we go back down to that December 2017. Sorry, my voice is going. Then we've got, it touches along onto that November high in 2021. So that's our sort of washing. The yellow one is our washing of the BTC coming through to that, all those sells, all those bear tiers. Larger correction comes back down to about 93. That's our next support in this region. It's also the 0.05 on the deeper pattern. So if we're looking at this as a full wave pattern here, and then we're coming down for a correction. So this could be 1, 2, 3. This could be our first of our third wave. So if this is a shallow fifth wave on this pattern, and then we get a larger pullback to 93, and that's when it absolutely will take off. So there are different scenarios that we're kind of looking at for BTC right now. When we have a look at dominance, we've got really strong support in this region, and it continues to bounce. USDT has been annihilated, which is, I love this, but just be careful. There's a support in this region that it is sort of hanging off, which coincides with that resistance that we're approaching. So that to me says, okay, we've got a bounce incoming here. And this, is a falling wedge. So, and we've got enough pattern here. So what might happen if we've got a smaller pullback, and then, USDT continues lower? So what might happen is we might get one more wave down before we get a wave up. And then our next pivot here is at 4.5. So that might be the larger pullback on BTC, that we head along to that bit, and then we come back down. And that's our continuation on BTC. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for those patterns, and it matches with the USDT dominance. So it's just whether we get a rejection at this point. So if we're getting a rejection at 4.3 on USDT dominance, then for BTC, we're likely getting a rejection in this region here, and it's sort of coming back down. So that would mean we're maybe seeing 130-ish on this run, unless we get the strong rejection at that 122 to 125. So there's lots to sort of take in there. So if that went really quick, this is obviously recorded and you can rewatch that. But yeah, that's kind of the various different patterns we're seeing. Now, this will continue up. So, and obviously at this resistance point, we can just go straight up as well. So that's the other possibility. This just heads like absolutely straight up, and we have like a massive breakout now. So if we're looking at that, that's just going straight up from here. BTC doesn't work like that. So it's going to keep you guessing. So I would say we're either going into this pattern or we're going into the deeper correction. And looking at alts, we will get a general idea. So as to what we are seeing, where they're like topping out, whether that's a wave one, whether we're sort of, you know, moving into those regions where we've got like strong momentum. But the USDT is going to be the chart to watch because this is going to be a really pivotal region, that 4.3% mark, because at that point, there's two patterns on BTC, there's two patterns on this USDT chart, and that's kind of where we get our momentum changing. So yeah, we've just got questions. So my views on alt season potential. So when I jump into all of the charts here, looking at alts, we can have a look where we are on those patterns. I'm seeing everyone going, oh my God, you know, alt season hasn't started. We've made lots and lots of percentages. Like if we go back and we have a look at the post I put out for getting started in crypto, there was 80%, 60%, and, you know, there's good percentages coming in. So whether alt season's as explosive as we've seen previously is yet to be seen, but due to the regulations, it's going to be different. This is all different. This is all changing. So we've got to take that into account, that the whole market as a whole is growing and evolving and maturing. And maturing means that there's not as much profits, that, you know, we do sort of have that same sort of feeling that we have in the stock market where, you know, sometimes we get a movement, sometimes we don't. So yeah, let's jump into some of those alts. And these were requested. Oh, before we do that, I'm just going to jump into the total 2. And if it wants to open, it's going to be slow. So this is also come out to this wave 3 resistance that we've been looking at. So if we look at this was the pattern. We had that potential DE wave. We broke out on the 1. We've gone into that 3rd wave. Now, looking at the fib levels on this is where we're going to get a greater idea as well as to, you know, what kind of momentum we're going to be seeing over this next week, whether we're going to keep flying, whether we're going to keep, or whether we're going to see a pullback. So 3 is looking likely. So normally it'll go to the 618. So it's still got room to move. The 0.5 is 3.92. So I'm going to move my pivots up to that region. So that's going to be a strong pivot. Directional pivot. We've broken this first directional pivot. You can see at this point here, it literally touched that pivot and has continued on. So that's a really strong sign. So 0.5 between this sort of region and the 618 is what we want to see. So 3.92 to 4.22 trillion on the total crypto market cap. And when we go to the total 2, which is the market cap minus BTC, so this includes ETH, we can see that we're right on the pivot at the moment. So the next fib level is sitting just above as well at 1.41 trillion. So that's a really, really strong sign. And it's, you know, the market's been moving really good. We did break down on this chart, but we've come back down, retested and gone up. So we'd like to see a bullish cross here on the 100 and 200 MA, and that would be a really explosive move moving forward. So DXY. Now, this is also a chart to watch over the next couple of weeks because of FOMC meetings. We've got all of that information coming out. So we want to keep watching that we're holding below these pivot levels. So ideally, we want to break down on this one here, which is 98.3. So breakdown here would be the key to this, like BTC continuing up. We break this level, BTC is seeing a pullback. So that's the correlation. So that seesaw effect. ETH. Now, obviously, this has not moved as much as any of the charts. We've had a nice bounce, though, and some nice movement on ETH. We are stuck under a pivot, which is 3,100, and we're back within that very choppy channel. So now I don't know where Crypto Capo's stop loss is on his never-ending short. So he was in his Telegram group, which is a free group, and I watch it to see sort of like what he's doing. It's quite interesting, like how he explains like how he trades, but he's been like literally shorting ETH the whole way. So, which is not ever something that I would advise anyone to do. As a trader, and maybe he's looking at long-term trades, but there's no key indication that that's a long-term trade yet, and that we are going completely down. So at this point, yes, you can see that we've got bearish divergence. We've crossed down on the stock, we've crossed down on the RSI, we've also crossed down on the MACD. So this is this point here. So we got a nice correction, but once we sort of broke above those pivots, you would have exited that trade. It just wouldn't have been viable to hold a long-term short like that. You can see, if he continued to sort of double down in these regions, stock says yes, RSI says maybe, and the MACD says possibly. Yeah, we've got a cross here, so he's doubled down. But did he sell here and and buy back? This is the question, because it doesn't show that in his Telegram group. At this point where we were sort of sitting here, he was saying that, okay, we are, I'm still adding to this short. So depending on what his liquidation level is and how sort of strong that is, who knows if that's already happened or not. But for ETH, we need to break that 3,100 mark. That is like a key level for the next move up. So if we zoom out, it is this pivot here on this wave. So, coming back down for our final wave on ETH, and then determining whether this is an X wave or a first wave. It's kind of ugly, so it's hard to know. I'd like to think that ETH is heading up, but at this point, until this pivot breaks, I'm not 100% confident in that. So it's not something that I'd be like, hell yeah, this is happening, because there's a few factors that you need to keep an eye on. So that would be a point where, if you're long on this, you're going to keep moving your stop loss into those profits, or taking some profits and waiting for, a small pullback. With the ETH dominance, the ETH BTC chart, we're sort of stuck underneath that 200. Now this pattern has been in the making for such a long time. And, on the daily, the 200 and the 100 are swooping up and looking really good, like they're going to cross over. When we drop that down onto a 12, we've had a cross here. So this is a good chart. So for ETH, for the BTC pair, a dip to sort of the 2.4 mark, 0.24 mark, possibly even to the 2.2 mark. That is still really valid and looking really good. It did break the pivot, which is a nice sign, still under resistance. So a little bit more consolidation in this region for ETH, but the daily chart is still looking like we're going to get that 100 and 200 MA cross. So to me, that says a little bit more patience with ETH, that it may just sort of range in this region if we get that pullback before heading up. So, and once we get into that next wave, we're going into the third wave for ETH, and that's going to be quite a big wave. So we just need to get there. We just need to have that patience, and that continuation is going to come. So, all right, now let me just go back and check. No more comments. So I'm going to jump into some alts and some that I had prepared. So ADA just sort of dipped down under that like support, and it is back up. Now, again, this is a daily chart, so it's a high time frame. We want to see a cross, a bullish cross on the 100 and the 200. The RSI is still not quite at the top. It's starting to swoop down, but it looks like it's got one more wave in this pattern. So what that might look like is one more wave, just sort of, oops, doesn't want to draw. One more wave, come back down, retest, and then a continuation up. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for ADA. So this could potentially be our wave one of our next impulse across the board, depending on whether we hold these lows. So for ADA, this basically just needs to hold this region. And then we'll see that next explosive wave. So this is Link, which has been one of the signals in it getting started in crypto for a long time. So 44% on this one. Again, daily chart, 100 and 200, we're sort of dancing in between that. Now we're at the 200 resistance on the daily on a lot of alts. Predominantly that doesn't break straight through. There's a corrective phase, like I was saying with what might happen with BTC, where we're just sort of like clearing all those shorts, and then we get that momentum happening. So if I move some of this stuff out of the way, for Link. So our major pivot on Link is 17. So that was already broken in this region. So that's looking likely that, we've got 5 waves here. We held the low, and, this is the next part of the momentum up, as long as we can sort of clear these levels. So again, we might do a little bit of a dance in this region before heading up. So is alt season happening right now? I think once we get that indication that the FOMC are absolutely making those cuts, then that's when we are seeing this momentum. And that is not far away looking at these charts. Zen, now this is a 4-hour chart is just about to cross. Now this is a really sort of interesting looking pattern, because we've got the parallel channel here, and we've just broken out, and we're coming back down and retesting. It can drop back into about 7.9, and that would retest 100 and 200 on that 4-hour. So when we bring this up to a daily, we can see that this is 100 MA resistance at the moment. So likely we're going to see a little bit of a pullback here before a continuation. And then we want to see these cross again. So we can see the stock is quite high. We've got a cooling on the MACD. So that just means we're going to see a bit of a pullback first. Looking like it's kind of happening across the board. We're getting quite high on a lot of the indicators, and really sort of overbought. The fear and greed index is not at the max yet, so it's not quite there. So we've probably got one more wave happening after a small pullback, and then we'll take off. But you can see here, so this is XRP on the daily. We're just really hovering really high on the stock. Now, this can do that for quite some time, but this is sort of just increasing. The RSI is sitting at 79, so it's not the highest it's kind of been on XRP. It does get higher than that when it gets like this strong momentum. And we've got strong liquidity coming in. So I don't think this is the end. We're sort of sitting at the 1-to-1 at the moment. So if this is still corrective, there's still a corrective pattern on XRP. So let me get wrong one. ABC. So we could have a larger pattern A, B, C happening on XRP. Sorry, guys. That's the alternative to the bullish pattern. So if this pattern here pulls back and breaks this low of 1.89, that's kind of where that is going to see that C wave. Now, and that would correlate with BTC doing that deeper correction to that 93 sort of mark on that support. So as well, 200 MA support is sitting at 2.36 for XRP. SUI, sweet. Now this has had a beautiful breakout, held support, kept bouncing along this region, was a signal, didn't have enough targets on it, and it continued. So anyone that was in Getting Started Crypto that held this, well done. This is one of the ones that I actually sold, and I'm like, damn it, kept going. But there's always another trade. So this is the daily. We're just about to get that cross on the 100 and the 200, and that is very nice. So that's our cross down. We had that big decline. So cross here would be lovely. Even if we get a pullback to that region, that's still nice. So that's 3.2. I do think we're going to see at least 4.3 in this wave. So, and going back. So if this is a pullback to kind of this region is the 618 if we get to this point here. So that's quite a nice pullback as far as alts are concerned. The RSI still has momentum. It is not looking ugly as yet. We're starting to see a slow, just a pullback on the MACD. That can change. The MACD is a lagging indicator, so don't take that as gospel. Talcoin, now it's broken. This is one that you guys love. So we've had a bullish cross on the 4 hour. When we go up to the daily, you can see we've got 200 MA resistance. We've crossed the pivot, which is beautiful. Now we just need to hold this region, this 100. So this is why I think we're about to get a pullback across the board. Even if we sort of break up to that next pivot, we're still pulling back. We're getting way too overbought on the RSI. MACD's still got lots of momentum to go, so it doesn't mean this is finished. It just means that there's a pullback that's coming, whether that's fast, whether it's slow, whether it goes for a week or, that sort of thing, or a day, is yet to be seen. But it all revolves around tariffs, FOMC, all of that sort of stuff. So as long as it holds around sort of 4728 with a couple of zeros in the front. And last but not least of my prepared charts. So this is which was one of the, I was looking through all the charts that everyone requested, and I just wanted to show you guys something that is really interesting in this chart. So we can see at the moment we're sort of just hovering sort of underneath that 100 MA, but we do have the 200 coming down. Now, if we can get across here, that would be explosive for this chart. So this is actually one that, I would look to be sort of entering into. It's going to have low liquidity because it's not, a hugely traded coin, as we can see with the wicks. So even on the 4 hour, we haven't had that cross yet. We're just sort of hovering in the middle. So on the 4 hour, because we've got above the 100 MA, we're sort of fighting within the middle. So if we go up through the MAs work beautifully as support and resistance. For anyone that's been following me for years, I love them. So we can see, like, as we go up the time frames, the 6-hour chart is still sort of holding under that 100. So we need to get back up. It did touch the 200, which shows that there's strength incoming in this region. So this is about to change momentum. When we sort of draw some levels, we've dipped back under and we're back into the wedge. But this is a really nice wedge. So whether we've got one more sort of wave in this region before a breakout, but it looks imminent. Like a lot of the low cap alts and medium cap alts are looking like this. So this to me says, like, to that question about the where we are with the, are we getting an alt season? It looks like it's just about to happen. So, and this is why, look for these patterns, look for these falling wedges with these breakout patterns, because, once it starts to get some momentum happening, look at the volume starting to enter on this. And yeah, it's looking really good. So that's kind of like what we're seeing. So I've got a couple more. I've got WIF, and I'll see if I can find Lunos. So WIF. Okay, so similar thing. This is a daily on WIF. We've got that 100 MA cross just about to happen. We can see that we're sort of just floating along this region. So this stock will need to cool at some point. So that is when we'll get that wave back down to retest that 200 before it absolutely takes off. But so it's got 5 waves in this region, and we should see some momentum change. Like when we go back down to the 4-hour, we sort of crawled along this region until we got that cross. It held support. So it does potentially need one more retest before we head up. 4-hour is still showing it's got one more wave in this region, likely just a small pullback here before a continuation. And for longer term WIF, I'm just going to take it back up to the daily. We've got some strong momentum happening on a lot of these alts. So, WIF did have that falling wedge and the breakout. So if we take that as a wave 1, the next level is probably the 618, which is at about 2.8, and that's likely our next major pullback for WIF. So it's got some nice momentum happening. It's been moving quite nicely to pattern. And let me see if I can find Lunos. I don't know if I've ever charted that one. Don't do that. No Lunos. Hang on. Make a copy. Oh, it's Lunos. I've already done it. There we go. Have they rebranded? Because I don't remember them being Lunos. Maybe they were. Anyway, so there we go. Oh, so there we go. Create said Uno is Lunos. So yeah. Oh, okay, cool. They rebranded. That's why I didn't know. I didn't see that rebrand. It's funny how so many coins over the years have rebranded, like every sort of bull run. when we look at some of those longer term ones that we've seen. It's crazy. So yeah, so there we go. Thank you all for watching. Now watch those levels on BTC, because they're going to sort of like determine where we're going overall with the market. But watch for that sort of, lots of BTC coming into the market and coming off exchanges. Now, if you're seeing those big whale movements where we're seeing all those BTC movements going into Coinbase, going into Binance, they're predominantly OTC, so they're not anything to worry about. When they're coming off exchange and going into wallets, that's a really good thing. That means, they're going to cold storage, they're not going on to exchanges. A lot is coming off exchanges at the moment. So yeah, it's looking really good. So watch those levels, watch the USDT, and stay safe. Keep raising those stop losses into profits, because that's the aim of the game, to make money here. Don't make stupid mistakes, and don't marry a position. So that's essentially what Crypto Capo has done with his endless short. And I'm just like, oh my God, for all the people that are in that group and that follow him, I feel really sad for some of them, because some of them can't afford to buy actual quality signals. So they're following him blindly and then probably blaming him because they're pressing the buttons. But again, if you do want some signals, you don't have the money to do that, Femex free signals, use your referral code here, head to gettingstartedencrypto.com. And we've also got bots there. So if you don't want to trade your own, all you have to do is set up the bot and it will do it for you. Just have to sort of, keep an eye on it, make sure it's doing all the right stuff. But that's about it. I will catch you all on. Make sure you come and follow me on TikTok. Be Like Lisa Anna Edwards is the name, and I post a lot of stuff about sort of psychology and trading psychology and all of that. So if you're into that sort of stuff, come and follow me over there. Instagram, of course, X, and on YouTube, and in Getting Started in Crypto. So if you've got questions, you've got anything that you want to chat to me about, they're all the places that you can find me. So yeah, I'll see you soon, and I'll be back here next Monday. Bye, guys.